Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new around here, my name is Megan and today I'm going to be doing my spoiler-free review of the series of unfortunate events. I do have a special guest with me today. His name is Oliver. Say hi, Oliver. This is my dog and he is very interested in my videos, so you may see him, poking his head in every once in a while. You also may notice that I have a completely new background. I moved, which is really exciting, so I'm now living with my boyfriend and our dog in a new place, so that's kind of why I've been absent from videos. But I'm back, and my show is over. If you guys watched my new to booktube tag, I talk about that a little bit. So I'm completely free now besides the fact that I have a full-time job, but I should be making more videos and I'm very excited about it. So to get to today's video, I'm going to be talking about my 10 reasons why I think you should read this series of unfortunate events. If you've read the books already and you'd like to see my full review of this book, that does include some minor spoilers. I try to keep it relatively spoiler-free, but it's hard to talk about the plot of the whole series without giving a few things away. If you'd like to watch that video, I'll have it linked somewhere on the screen right now so you can check it out. But this video is intended for people who have not read it and are kind of wondering why they should. I would recommend this to pretty much everyone, and that's my number one reason. Number one is that this book series is great for readers of all ages. With a little bit of, I'd say you probably have to be around 5th grade to be able to understand a lot of it, because that's when I started reading these books, and for the most part I grasped it, but now reading this 15 years later, there was so much that just went over my head just because I couldn't comprehend the complexity of the plot. But it's a great starter book for young ages, and it's also a really interesting read for people who are older. Which leads to kind of number two, is that there is a ton of vocabulary in here. Daniel Handler, who is Lemony Snicket, uses these books to kind of educate young readers on words that they may not be familiar with, and he does it in a way where he can explain what the word means in the context of the sentence, which I just think is so cool. And obviously when I was younger I was learning new words. I'm not gonna lie, I reread these books and I didn't know what some of them meant, so it's kind of nice. I'm really interested in starting a project of making a series of unfortunate events dictionary, and just listing all of the different words that are defined throughout the book series. Someone let me know if that's already done. I feel like that's probably a great idea that's already been accomplished, but it's there. The next few reasons I have go more into the plot and the writing style. So the third reason I think you should read these books is that there was actually surprising twists and turns. I don't like in a book series when I can see the plot twist coming 7 chapters ahead of time. And I mean, yeah, there was moments in these books where you could probably guess what was going to happen, but there was a lot of moments in these books, especially during the end, where things happened that I just did not even see coming. So I thought that was just a really great addition. And so that leads into reason number 4. There is interesting character development for pretty much every single character you meet throughout the series, which I think is so interesting. I mean, obviously there's development for the 3 Baudelaire orphans and for Count Olaf in a way, but even the minor characters, you learn so much about them and they grow as the series goes on. So I just thought that was really interesting to be able to see a large number of characters grow and become connected and all of these things. It just was really exciting to see how some of these characters panned out. And number 5 is that I really enjoyed how these book series handled the topic of love. Obviously this is, a middle grade, I'd say, that eventually turns into a young adult series, and so there are some aspects of love because young readers tend to be drawn to that, but the way that it's just handled in these books is so interesting to me because it's not in a conventional, the story doesn't revolve around love except that it entirely does. Which doesn't make any sense if you haven't read it. The entire plot is motivated by love. You wouldn't really be able to tell that if you were just looking at each book as an individual part of the story, but when you look at it all together, the entire series is motivated by love, which I just thought was really interesting. Number 6 is that these books are fairly quick reads. Yes, there are, 13 with some companion guides, but they go super quick. They did take me 2 months to read all 13 of them, but that was just because I was so busy. I easily think you could read all 13 in a week, 2, It's definitely doable in a month. It just depends on, you know, your own kind of schedule and your commitment, but they do go by very quickly. If you look at them, you know, they get longer as they go on, but they're not very long books. The print in here is pretty big. And so that's why another reason I just think it goes back to the fact that any age reader can read this, because for younger readers, you know, it's not too daunting, but for old readers, there's enough to really make it worth your while. All right, moving out of kind of, you know, the plot and the style of writing and just looking at more of what this book promotes as a message, number 7 is that I really enjoy the messages that this book promotes. It says that, you know, it's cool for a female to be an engineer or an inventor and to be interested in that stuff. It's cool for males to like reading. These kind of stereotypes that we have in our society that, you know, women should be in the kitchen and cooking and men should be earning money. And I mean, it's 2016, so we are progressing towards a much more open, you know, society where gender roles aren't so defined because gender itself is very fluid. However, this book kind of starts, and this book came out in 1999, and it was saying that, you know, look at this 14-year-old girl. She is inventing. How exciting is that? And, you know, Claus is 12, and he loves reading, and he loves, you know, kind of indulging himself with this information that it's okay for men to be smart, which, you know, people are probably saying, of course it is. But back then, you know, a lot of men felt like they had to be these manly, masculine, you know, pieces of meat that earned money. It wasn't okay to use your brain and to be smart. And this book says that you can. And then Sunny, the youngest child, who's only, you know, about a year old throughout the series, yes, she does some really incredible stuff that just no ordinary child could do, but I think the message there is that you can do anything you put your mind to, no matter how young you are. You know, you can accomplish anything at any age if you dedicate yourself to it. Number 8 is kind of one of my personal favorite things about books. I really like reading in order to escape to another world, and A Series of Unfortunate Events world is so complex. It's so completely different from our world, except so similar, which again probably doesn't make sense to you. There's so many things where there's just this elaborate society full of people that are doing these things that just doesn't exist in our world, but so many of the aspects of it you can relate to. You could see how this could happen in today's society, and I'm really interested in finding out what time period this series takes place in. It doesn't ever actually say. I haven't done that much digging, but I think it's probably in the early 1900s, around there. You know, I'd say it's probably before if, you know, this is even set in our timeline, it's before the Great Depression and the wars. But I have no idea, and that's what's so interesting about it, because I could be totally wrong. It could be, you know, a dystopian novel and it's actually set in 2100. You know, I have no idea when this book series takes place, because this world is so complete and different and unique from our society, but there are elements of the world around us that I can see in these books. Alright, reason number 9 is that it has an unconventional but very satisfying ending. I really can't talk that much about it without giving spoilers, so please check out my other video if you have read this series so that you can kind of see my take on it and my thoughts on it. But at first I didn't understand it. I was a little baffled by it, so I started reading some of the companion guides that go along with the series, and everything sort of fell into place, and I really figured it out, I think. At least I found something that's very satisfying for me to hold on to, and I kind of like that you can kind of draw your own conclusions from it, so I would say it's absolutely worth the read. And if you guys have watched some of my previous videos, you'll know that that was my greatest fear with this series, because I have been reading it for so long that I was going to get to the end and just feel like I've wasted so much of my life on this, and I absolutely do not feel that way. I felt very satisfied. I felt like it perfectly kind of concluded everything in a way. There's so many, I can't talk about it. Now I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop there, or else I will give away stuff, and I really don't want to do that. So check out my other video if you have read this series, and if you haven't, read it so that we can talk about it, because I'm really, really excited about it. And reason number 10, the last reason, is because there's going to be a Netflix series of it, which I've talked about 1,000 times, but I really think that you should read it before you watch the series. They're doing a lot of really cool things with the series. I've done, you know, some research into this. Obviously, Neil Patrick Harris is playing Count Olaf, which is amazing. They've cast, you know, the Baudelaire children. They've cast a lot of the other characters as well. What they're doing is they're dedicating 2 60-minute episodes to each book. So it's probably going to be more than one season long. And they've cast the actors kind of younger than their characters are so that they can continue to watch them grow and it'll make sense to us. So I'm very, very excited about it. They've talked about they're going to make the series kind of darker. The books are pretty dark, but they're going to do this series so that it appeals to the audience that grew up reading it. So yes, people that haven't read the books will be able to enjoy this series, but I think it hints at the fact that if you've read this series, you're going to enjoy it that much more. That's it. Those are my 10 reasons why I think you should read this series. It is so worth the time. It is so satisfying. I am very happy with how it all came together, and I'm really excited for other people to read it because I don't really know that many people that have completed it, so I don't have anyone to talk to about it, and I'm just really excited to discuss different theories. So again, if you have read it, please check out my other video. Let me know what you think. And if you haven't read it, please do. Let me know in the comments below what you're reading right now and if you plan on adding this to your TBR pile. And that's it for this video. I will see you guys very soon. Bye.